It's all the way to Revelation isn't the way that we want to do it.
Well,
You know?
I'm
You know?
sitting here, with our children, we have always done it more without any, for lack of a better word, legalistic boundaries. Matter of fact, our kids are usually read more, and we're like, it's time to go to bed.
The story's over.
Yeah, and so it's more in stories or segments or themes or whatever is how we read. And we certainly don't read Leviticus, and, I mean, there's certain books that we don't spend any time in, because it's just not any reason to right now, So I'm not sure how you wanna,
Well, I wonder this, tell me what do you think, because I don't think anybody else has seen the 1 Minute Bible except for Tracy. What do you think of the 1 Minute Bible as you've seen it?
I mean, it's worked, because everybody will sit down and read it, and then it gives you, whatever scripture it is, then it gives you kind of just a comment on the scripture, which can generate a little bit of conversation if you're still, if you wanna do that. In an easy 10 minutes, you can read it all, discuss anything if you want to, and pray. And, so, it is more than a minute, but that,
It is more than a minute.
Jimmy, you could write something and publish it. You could
Yes.
do it, you could organize something, questions, the whole banana, and publish it.
Or are you
We could.
talking
No.
about, when you're talking about, the 1 minute, which I've looked at that
Have you looked at
too.
1 Minute Bible?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's pretty neat.
It kinda goes through the stories of the Bible, and it skips.
But are we talking
Believe
about
it.
that just
Yeah,
as
like,
a,
Revelation. maybe or something.
as a tool to help them, encourage them to read through the Bible, or are we talking about tying those things into what we study in our Bible studies? Because, you know what I'm saying? Are we gonna study are we gonna study Acts together as a church, or are we gonna, we can do the 1 Minute Bible or whatever, but.
if we're studying Acts, that's gonna be my Bible reading for the
Right.
week. I'm not gonna be doing something
I
in
think
Sure.
that
addition
was
to.
what you had said.
Yeah, 'cause this is a question, this is my question, do you, do it, whatever we're doing for the home, that we're doing for small groups, we tie together for Sunday school, can we do that and it not be not get bored? Can that be done?
You mean just like saying we're gonna start in John and study the book of John? Is that what you're saying? Like, just for an example?
Yeah, just for an example.
Just for an
And for me, we could do, like, say if it was just Jimmy, where would you start? I like Genesis in the fall. I could, and I'm a geek, I'm a Bible study nerd, and I would be happy to throw out some of that stuff. And we could figure out maybe a month of, I said, this is just Jimmy. A month of Genesis, a month of Matthew, a month of more Genesis, a month of Mark, or well, maybe something like that.
I still, and maybe this is just the way I like to study, and so.
Okay,
y'all can
tell, I
disagree.
wanna know how you like to
But
study.
I wanna read the whole book as it was meant to be read.
Okay.
I may be the only person that feels that way, but I wanna know the beginning, the middle, and the end in the order that it came, so that, because a lot of times in my life I've picked and chosen and read here, and I really wanna read it as a book.
Okay.
That's just the way I like to study, and I'll still study it that way, but I'm trying to think, would that be a good way for our students to study and our adults and all that, to see, to learn a little bit about Galatians and why it was written and who wrote it and what's the deal with it and why it was in the order that it was written, in the beginning, the middle, and the end, and what comes before and after, and not just pick out what we want to read and feel good about, but the whole book. But that's just,
Okay, and hey, let's just throw it out, it's just brainstorming, but what do you think about 3 years? Give me your opinion about 3 years when we start beginning to go to the end. I can,
Okay, how many chapters are in the Bible, do we know that?
there's 1,460, no, I wouldn't like that.
well, and
I was
you
thinking, how many
definitely
would
wouldn't
that-
have to go Genesis, Exodus, but maybe Genesis, and maybe study some of the kings, and, because.
You
all
could
that
still skip
stuff
around
just
even
goes
if you're on the
together.
3-year plan.
It just all goes together.
Well, the other
Yeah.
thing is,
Dan, how much is that a week? I don't know, I can't picture it.
If you read 2 chapters of the Old Testament and 1 chapter of the New Testament every day in a year, you will just about read the whole Bible. You will miss it just a little bit.
So
I've
Is that
been,
over
I've heard
three
but
it
I've
years?
been
three-
doing that for,
chapters.
I've been doing that for 25 or 30 years.
I've
Of
heard
my
that
life.
Chapter a day if you did
I
it
read 3
years.
chapters a day.
if you read
Every
day.
three,
That doesn't leave you the
three a
weekends
day and
for
then 5 on
everybody.
Sunday, you will get through it in a whole year.
Almost those 2 days.
Right, and so if you back it off to 5 days, and then if you stretch it out, it wouldn't be that much. So I'm just trying to give you a gauge that I know, that takes me a little bit longer
So
than a
that's
year
about a
to
chapter,
do that.
chapter a day. for
Yeah,
3
with
years.
no breaks, every day, chapter a day.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I could gladly spend 2 years in the Old Testament. I put you about 2 years in the Old Testament. We're on 3 year. And, you know, as a point of reference, if you read Criswell's autobiography, who was the pastor before Criswell? It was,
Oh,
what, I'm sitting-
Truett.
Truett, okay. Truett's wife came and gave Criswell Truett's Bible. And, you know, he pastored from 1901 to 1950. And then what happened was Criswell opened that Bible, and it was dated Genesis 1, and he preached Genesis 1 to Revelation. I think it took from 1950 to 1967. And nobody complained, you know. So I figure if they can do it in 17 years, probably, I think we could do it in 3 years, and we could do something that would be exciting. And just from the experience last year of writing the literature, it is not, I don't think it's difficult.
That's crazy to think that the youth could go through the Bible twice, basically. Is that what it
Yeah.
amounts to?
Yes, and then I'm thinking about the long range thought. I want us to keep working together. We're not gonna keep meeting every week for eternity. Okay? Thank you for your zeal and so on and so forth. But then the next idea is, I'd like to say, what is our plan that maybe when Josiah enters first grade, I don't know how much the first grader takes in, but in a first to third grade fashion, that he goes through the Bible. Then he goes through it again 4 through 6, then he goes through it 7 through 9, then he goes through it 10 through 12. I think we could get in.
I would think if you're doing that by high school, you're not skipping,
Yeah.
because you gotta connect all the
Even if you
dots.
miss a day or two.
Yeah,
along
if
the
you
way.
miss it,
Because
yeah.
I'm sitting here thinking, you know, people our age, they don't know so much about the Bible because they've never had anybody connect the dots for them before. And if you go through it systematically like that from beginning to end, you've got to cover everything to be able to connect the dots. I just don't think you can skip it.
And Jimmy, Sunday, you
Even
mentioned a
Even
timeline,
with
and you kind of broached the subject that you were gonna tell the kids, you know, that Jesus is actually closer to David than they think he is, you know?
Yeah, in their brain.
And,
Yeah.
but, you know, even like just world history for me, once I saw it on a timeline, I had no idea that the Civil War and the Cowboy and Indians were at the same time. I mean, it was like, really? So if you could tie it to a world timeline and show them this is what's going on, when Jesus walked in the earth, this is what's going on, you know, throughout the world.
Yeah,
And
and
that
so
may help them make some connections.
I think so, and I can do this. We don't, the intent is not to turn into a Bible college, but I do a little bitty thing. At the beginning of Youth Sunday School, I started this summer, I'm gonna just do it forever. We're doing the books of the Bible. We sit there and go Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, and, you know, they can say it. And then I ask, you know, hey, what are the first books of the Bible called? And, you know, well, I'll look, one kid will raise a hand and go, that's called the Pentateuch. And I said, it's also referred to as the Torah, because those are the books of the law. I said, the Old Testament is written in they'll tell you it's written in Hebrew and Chaldean. I said the New Testament is written in Greek and Aramaic. Why were the Hebrew people? They were called the what in the New Testament? They're the Jews. Why did they speak Hebrew and then they spoke Greek? Alexander, they can tell you, Alexander the Great invaded them and forced them to speak that language. It was part of the Hellenization of the Greek Empire. And I just throw out little things. I mean, this is 4 weeks. This is what we've done in 4 weeks in just 2 or 3 minutes at the top. And if you want to do, I mean, like I said, I'm nerdy on this stuff, and I can do those
It's really
things.
important, I
But it
think.
is important to grab